Willie Hugh Nelson was born on April 29, 1933, in the tiny farming town of Abbott, Texas, during the harsh years of the Great Depression. Life in Abbott was simple, quiet, and often unforgiving. Willie and his older sister Bobby were raised mostly by their grandparents after their parents left when the children were very young. Alfred and Nancy Nelson were strict but loving, guiding their grandchildren with faith, hard work, and music. Their small home was filled with hymn books, church melodies, and the steady rhythm of rural life. When Willie was 6 years old, his grandmother placed a guitar in his hands and encouraged him to learn music. That small moment changed everything. The guitar became more than an instrument. It became a companion and a way to understand the world. Long before fame, Willie discovered that music could express feelings words alone sometimes could not. Discovering music as a lifeline. Growing up in rural Texas meant long days working in cotton fields and helping wherever work was available. Willie picked cotton in the hot sun and did farm chores alongside adults much older than he was. Yet music followed him everywhere. In church, he absorbed gospel songs, while the radio introduced him to Western swing, country, and blues. By the time he was 9 years old, he was already performing with a local band at community gatherings. At 10, he began writing his own songs, filling notebook pages with lyrics and melodies that reflected his observations of life around him. Music slowly became his refuge and his purpose. Abbott did not offer many opportunities, but the guitar in Willie's hands felt like a door to something larger. He didn't yet know where the road would lead, but he believed deeply that the songs inside him mattered and deserved to be heard. Searching for direction after school. After graduating from Abbott High School in 1950, Willie stepped into adulthood with determination but little certainty about what came next. He briefly joined the United States Air Force, hoping structure might give direction to his life. However, health issues forced him to leave the service early. Back in Texas, he worked a wide variety of jobs to survive. He sold Bibles door to door, worked as a plumber's assistant, pumped gas, and took on any work that would help him pay bills. Through all of it, music remained constant. Willie performed in small bars, dance halls, and local radio stations whenever he could. He also worked as a disc jockey in Texas and later in Washington State. These radio jobs sharpened his understanding of listeners and how music connects with people. Though success still seemed distant, the years were quietly shaping him into the songwriter and performer he would eventually become. Writing songs that would outlive the struggle. While Willie struggled to earn a steady living, his songwriting talent began attracting attention. He wrote constantly, often late at night after work. During this period, he created songs that would later become classics. Among them were Funny How Time Slips Away, Hello Walls, and Crazy. These songs eventually became major hits for other performers and helped define the sound of country music. Yet at the time, Willie was still living modestly and receiving little recognition for his own performances. The music industry valued his songwriting, but was uncertain about him as a singer. His voice was different, relaxed and conversational rather than polished. Even so, he kept writing and performing. The songs carried honesty that listeners could feel. Slowly, even if the recognition was indirect, his music was finding its way into the hearts of audiences across the country. Nashville and the challenge of fitting in. In 1960, Willie moved to Nashville, the center of the country music industry, hoping it would finally open doors for his career. Nashville was thriving at the time, but it favored a polished style known as the Nashville sound. Producers often added orchestras and smooth arrangements designed for mainstream radio. Willie's style, however, was more relaxed and personal. He sang slightly behind the beat, letting words flow naturally rather than precisely. While his songwriting gained respect, many executives believed his voice did not match the sound they were trying to promote. As a result, his recordings struggled to gain attention even while his songs became hits for other artists. The experience was frustrating but also important. Those years taught Willie to trust his instincts. Instead of forcing himself to fit into the system, he began to imagine a different path where he could perform exactly the way he believed music should sound. Facing financial challenges with determination. Even after achieving fame, Willie Nelson's life continued to include serious challenges. In the early 1990s, he faced a major financial crisis involving unpaid taxes. The government seized many of his assets, including property and personal belongings. For many, people such a setback might have ended their careers, but Willie responded in the way he knew best, through music. He recorded a special album and continued touring relentlessly, performing for fans across the country. Support from friends and loyal listeners helped him recover financially over time. The experience strengthened his belief that music and community mattered far more than possessions. By continuing to perform and work steadily, he was eventually able to resolve the situation and rebuild stability in his life. Personal loss and the strength to continue life also brought deep personal losses that shaped Willie's later years. The passing of his son Billy in the early 1990s was a heartbreaking moment for him and his family. Losing a child is one of the most painful experiences a parent can face, and Willie carried that grief quietly. Over the years, he also lost close friends and fellow musicians who had shared stages and memories with him for decades. Each loss left its mark, yet Willie continued performing and writing songs. Music remained the place where he could express emotions that were difficult to explain in conversation. His later performances often carried an added depth, as if every lyric reflected the life he had lived and the people he had loved. Aging on the road with the same passion. As the years passed, Willie Nelson continued touring well into his 80s and 90s. Like anyone who lives a long life, he faced health challenges and had to adjust his schedule and habits. Even so, the stage remained a place where he felt most alive. His famous guitar, named Trigger, stayed by his side through thousands of performances. The instrument showed visible wear from decades of playing, but it still produced the warm sound fans recognized instantly. Audiences admired not only his music, but also his dedication. Seeing him perform after so many years became a reminder that passion and purpose can last a lifetime. Each concert carried the feeling of witnessing something authentic and enduring. Family, home, and a quieter chapter. In his later years, Willie found greater balance in family life. His marriage to Annie D'Angelo brought stability and companionship. Together, they raised two sons, Lucas and Micah, both of whom followed musical paths of their own. Watching his children grow and perform became one of Willie's greatest joys. His home in Texas became a gathering place for family, friends, and fellow musicians. Away from the spotlight, he enjoyed simple moments, spending time outdoors, sharing stories, and playing music informally. These quieter experiences gave him a perspective that had been difficult to find during the non-stop travel of earlier decades. The lasting legacy of authenticity. Willie Nelson's life story is not only about music, but about persistence and authenticity. From a small Texas town to international stages, he remained committed to being himself even when the industry suggested otherwise. His songs have accompanied people through celebrations, long journeys, and moments of reflection. More than awards or records sold, his greatest achievement is the connection his music created with listeners. When he steps onto a stage with his guitar, audiences recognize something genuine in his voice and presence. That honesty is the true legacy of his career. Willie Nelson's journey shows that success does not always come quickly, but staying true to one's path can create something meaningful that lasts far beyond a lifetime.